Hello everybody, so I am gonna do another review of one of the sort of escape room board games. In this case it's going to be Escape Tales Low Memory. This is the second one in the Escape Tales series, so I'll tell you what I'm less going to tell you what I think about it in this review. So I did a second one which is spoiler free. This one, spoilers, 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 spoilers. I'm going to talk about the individual puzzles and where I had gripes. But generally, I really enjoyed it. I'm going to play the next one. I enjoyed the first one in the series as well. But I had some issues with some of the puzzles. And so I'm actually going to talk about them in a bit more detail. So, like I say, spoilers. If you just want to know whether I enjoyed it or not and what I thought and more overview, please go and watch the other video, not this one. Alright. So yes, so I like I say I enjoy it. So I enjoy the exit games and I enjoy the unlock. I don't enjoy the unlock games, but I do enjoy the exit games. I think the puzzles are a bit better in the exit games. This one's not destroyable and it's just got loads of hours. As I said, it's got 3 missions and it's got loads of hours. But what did I think of the missions? So I think in the first puzzle, which is from Elizabeth's point of view, I think the puzzles were alright. There was one where I had to get a clue. So there's one, you're in a game and you may come across this, but you're in the games room, you're in the basement, and there's a dartboard. And I was looking at where the sort of the dice, the direction that the darts were pointing, because they were in different directions, and I was looking at the shadows because the shadows didn't make sense when you look compared to where the light would be from. That didn't make any sense at all. So I was assuming that there was a hint in the shadows, and after a while couldn't get the answer, so then looked up the hint, and the first hint said ignore the normal rules of darts, which is a fairly big thing because initially I was using the results of, so in normal darts, if you know there's a triple line and a double line, and I was using those rules and it told you not to, which I guess it's good for people that don't know the rules of darts, but if you do know the rules of darts, that's really irritating. Just avoid it because it's not hard to avoid it. And then the second one, it was saying, look at what's connected. And I'm like, well, I've already been looking at the shadows. Now, there was a third point, and I realised that it was like, well, what's across from where the dart is? You've got the segment the dart's in, and what's the opposite one? But I got it with those 2 clues, but it wasn't where my mind was going, especially when it was saying what's connected. I was, having already looked at the shadows, like I said, the shadows were in weird directions. They weren't sensible for light. So, well, it is what it is. What else? There was, so I think the next puzzle, but generally I got them all alright, and I think that was the only one we needed a hint for. Now, I'm pretty sure it was in the second one, which is the John case. There was one where you what was it? It was all to do with teddy bears. So there's paint on these teddy bears, and you have to work out a security code based on the date and based on the colours on the teddy bear. And the hints were useless on this one. So the hints only told me what I already knew. Go figure. It didn't give me any new information. I'd already cracked the basics, but I couldn't get the solution. And it was because you were, what was it? You had to take one, basically I got the hints, it didn't work, and then I ended up brute forcing the puzzle because I realised that I'd gone through quite a lot. I justified an awful lot of answers, so I tried an awful lot of the possible answers, and in the end I was just like, there can't be that many left. And in fact, I got it on my second or third try of combination that I hadn't done. And that's not getting the answer, that's just like bruting it. And I looked it up just to see if anyone else had thought about that. And the idea is that, like, one of the bears with one of the colours is going to give you one of the numbers, and then another of the bears is going to... I read what it said, but it just seems so abstract. Like, you just had to guess. Like, it just wasn't a very clean puzzle. It was, you get a little bit of this and a little bit of that, but you take this part of this one and this part of this one. And there wasn't any clue for that. There wasn't anything in the hints for that. And it just wasn't clean. Like, for me, it didn't make sense that you do that. Even once I'd read what they said online, I was like, that don't make sense. Like, why would you do that? Like, you've either got these numbers, or you add them together or whatever. But with this one, you had to take a bit of this one and a bit of that one. I didn't like that solution at all. That really annoyed me. It was the only puzzle in that one. Some of them I found a little bit tricky. Some of them did hint, but generally I thought they were all good. I enjoyed them. But that one annoyed me. And then you get to the third case, which is the Black Princess. So the Black Princess, there was a couple of puzzles I found particularly hard. But I'm going to be honest, generally, once I saw the hints, it was like, oh, it's this pattern, and it all made sense. There was one, though. So there's a point where you choose whether you go into one door or the other door, but you don't realise that you're locked into that choice. So you work out that you can get a passcode, and depending on which passcode you go on to, you go into one room or you go into the other room. And I realised that I got both the answers, and I just put in my head, I was like, I'm going to go this way, and I went the other way. Because I picked up the wrong code. And the puzzle in that one was really... So basically I spent hours trying to figure it out. And it's interesting because in the rules it says you don't have to solve all the puzzles, but actually once you get to this point you do. You have to solve this one puzzle to progress. You can't go back. And basically I was working on it. We were playing it slow, like we were in no rush, so we were just playing around on it, and we spent ages doing it. And in the end, because it wasn't one that I could brute force, so in the end I actually, because I could open up the app on a couple of different devices, I actually put in the answer that I intended to put in and went the other way, which is sort of a little bit of a cheat, but at no point did it say you can only go one way. I mean, it sort of made sense thematically, but I would have liked to have known and been, before I was locked into a choice, which I made by accident because I used the wrong code, right? And so I went the other way, and the puzzles I just got them. They were easy, and I'd spent hours on this other puzzle. And this was the one where you had to work out the sort of, I guess, the multipliers for this 3 different gases, and you have to work out the multipliers of the numbers that are missing. And I did the math left, right, and centre. I went all over the show with the math. And I knew I had the right answers because I worked on the basis of using prime numbers to solve it, like not prime numbers, the products, in order for the difference, because there's one number missing and you want to go from one number to the other. So I figured that the number had to be one of the numbers that multiplies to get one of the factors of the difference. So I got that, and I actually had the right numbers, and I had the right numbers fairly quick. But that was quite a complex thing, and I didn't think... I put the numbers in left, middle, right, and actually what you needed to do was there was top, middle, and bottom, and I put them in left to right instead of top to bottom. So I put in the right numbers, and I put in the right numbers a few times, and the person I was playing with had got those numbers as well. So the numbers made sense, but it just... And they were such a... It was a thinky puzzle. And so I didn't think about the order that I was putting them in. I just assumed it was left to right. Now, you can't assume everything, sure. But it would have been nice. The trouble is, you went into the hints. And there was only 2 hints for this one. And both of them you'd worked out. And neither of them you know, I could have really done with a hint there that said, think about what order you put the numbers in. That would have made all the difference. So that was, you know, so there's a couple of the puzzles throughout the game that I needed help with, but generally I got them. One of them I didn't like the solution, but okay. One of them I hated the solution because it didn't make sense. It was pretty much random. And then one of them, yeah, if I'd have had the right hint, I'd have got it. When it comes to so this game, depending on all the decisions you make, you get different answers, right? You go different conclusions to the game. And I'd figured out that you're collecting these cards and you keep them. And I'd figured out that, you know, it was going to be a combination of these. I figured out that, you know, if you use the stress cards, and that'll sort of affect how long you've been as well. I figured that out. But I ended up sort of using one of the stress cards. It says don't, but then you can. It's weird, but then it does have an impact on the end solution. That's fine. That sort of makes sense. That, in fact, it makes perfect sense. But the only thing that doesn't make sense, it would have been nice to know, because at the end, bearing in mind you're an infiltrator and you're going in to bring down the system, it would have been nice to know. I felt that the text was fairly ambiguous. It was, you know, like you want to give a particular story, but you don't want to give a particular story. You don't want it to be too far-fetched, but you want it to be a bit far-fetched. I wasn't sure what it was. Like, I looked at the cards that I had, and I had a fair amount. And I was like, well, I can tell this story, this story, this story. But I thought it was telling me that if the story doesn't make sense and you're going to break it. And actually, when I was looking through the solutions, it seems like if you'd have put in something that didn't make sense, that would have been the best outcome. So I felt that was a little bit annoying as well. Yeah, I felt like I chose the numbers based on what I thought it was telling me, but it wasn't. And this is one thing that you have throughout the game, actually, because there's a few times where the language and the translation is weird and off. And I think that maybe this could have done with a decent editor to read through it and just be like, hey, actually, you know, this isn't clear what you're asking for. Because I definitely thought it was trying to tell me something, but I just got the opposite message. I just felt it meant the opposite of what it was trying to tell me. So, I mean, that's a bit of a gripe with the final puzzle, right? I guess the only thing I said that I ended up using a stress card because I ran out of action tokens. I ran out of action tokens because I might have forgot that banana was a fruit. I mean, I know that banana's a fruit, but I saw fruit and I saw bananas in an office one and ended up exploring way more than I needed to because I didn't put banana is a fruit. Banana is a fruit. I know banana's a fruit, but I don't know. Don't ask. So anyway, like I say, I mean, there's my main review. Basically, I thought it was great. I thought it was really good. It's not amazing, but I spent a lot of hours. I didn't rush it. It was a really good activity over a few days. I feel I got my money's worth. And I'm looking forward to getting the next one. I'm definitely going to do that. They're not for casual gamers, obviously. They're quite in depth. But I enjoyed it. It's not flawless. And some of the puzzles I really didn't like the way they went, but generally, yeah, I liked it. So, hopefully you enjoy the fact that I'm doing a solution, a sort of spoilers version. I'd love to know what you think. It was someone said, like, I'd love to see a spoiler version review. So, there you have it. With that, thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.